get started and hope. Jessely, oh, this meeting is being live streamed.
Yes,
Okay.
Dan has it streamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going off to the town YouTube for anybody that wanted to watch in without participating.
Okay.
And Tracy, I'm handing over hosting to you. If you guys need to stop the video, at the bottom of your screen, you'll have the more button with the option to stop the live stream.
Okay, thank you so much, Dan, for setting this up.
No problem. I think you've got my email address, or Sue, I think you might still have my phone number if you guys need anything else. I'm going to hop out, though.
I do. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, so we'll call to order, no public comment. Correspondence? No?
Oh, Alice is here.
Oh, good. Okay. Additions to the agenda. I think there are 3 things that we need to do brief talks about at the moment. People whose terms of office are running out need to contact the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Education has had an issue with books in one of their school libraries. And as Leslie pointed out, there was some comment on the architect study we're trying to do at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday. So can we put those 3 items on the agenda for brief talks in new business? Okay. And we should welcome Sue Slater as a board member replacing Mary Capiello. So
Yay.
we're pleased with that. There will be no treasurer's report. Kathy is not here, and there would not be one. So the treasurer's report for the library board, it only concerns the endowment that the board controls. And so we really only talk about it about once a quarter.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the reason why we are here is the old business portion, because our budget proposal is due to the town on the 14th of January. So this is a normal meeting we hold in addition to the regular meeting in February. And you have a copy of what the letter we got from the controller on the budget. And yes, and this is says that we should keep the increase of the non-salary portion of our budget to 0%. And also, Tracy has been told that the salary portion of the budget, the salaries can go up by 2.5%, which is about what we've been dealing with for the past years. And it actually surprised me that there was anything there at all, but I'm very happy that there is, as little as it is. It's something. So what you got was a separate, basically a summary budget. Our salaries are going up a little more than the 2.5%. Very little.
Betsy,
Yes. Sorry?
sorry, it's 2.25% is the one the town is giving.
Oh, okay.
2.25.
2.25%. Okay. We do have pages who are being raised. The minimum wage goes up by $1 in that sense. Our new assistant director's salary went up because of the increased responsibilities. And we've also increased the salary of the children's program assistant. Is that the right title, Tracy? Because her salary was lower.
Yes, she's a part-time children's librarian. She does have an MLS and she's got many years' experience. So I'm not sure why she was only at 23 when our others were at 28. So that was the purpose in bumping Meg up.
Okay, so that puts our salaries, well, the total increase in salaries is 3.60, but that includes obvious raises in Social Security that we have to account for. But those two items, the big items would be Debbie Brooks as assistant director and Meg, and the pages getting a little more. Also, the other expenses, the non-salary portion of the budget is actually proposed to go up by 1.58%. Because even at 1.58% increase, it's a budget cut with the costs that have gone up. And when Marcia's note says, please don't make us cut the budget for you, that's, if they want the budget at that, that's what it will be. But I think that Tracy has proposed, and we've looked at this briefly before, more money for travel and conferences. It was very low last year because there were no conferences to go to, but we do need to have our staff professionally trained and kept up. And I hate to tell you that even adding money to it, that we're talking about $1,250. And well, I wish it could be more. It would, but we're not going to make it into more. Projects and special needs, which is the line item that we use for programs. And so we proposed an increase of $2,000 because programs are a vital part of our services, and we need to support them more. And like everything else, they're going up. There's also we need an increase in technical supplies, a line item which by name occurs in every department's budget, and for us it's our book budget. It in essence is the heart and soul of the library, the book budget and the programming budget. So we've asked for a small increase in there. So our increase for the non-salary portion is 1.58%, and the total budget increase is 3.14%. Alice, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
Still on mute.
Still on mute. Alice, you need to, at the top of your screen.
Hello.
There you go.
We go. Hey.
Oh, there you are.
Look at me, I'm a techie.
Yes.
What was the percent increase for salaries? I missed that.
2.25% is what the town is willing to.
No, we stayed at that, or what did we come in at?
Well, we stated that with the exception of two people, Debbie Brooks, because she assumed extra responsibilities, was given a raise during this year, and Meg also was given a raise beyond that because she's been getting, for some reason, much lower rate than anybody else doing the same kind of job.
No, I meant, but what our current budget that we're proposing, what's the,
Yes.
okay, what's what's the increase, what's the percentage increase of that?
Non-union wages, 3.60.
The total-
3.60 if you include Social Security.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna run into trouble.
Oh, well, I
No,
dare
that doesn't have to be 0.
let them cut it.
The salary, we do not have to keep at 0, just
Yeah.
the operating.
No, but they want it at 2.25 and we're above it, is what Alice is saying.
Right, thank you.
Sorry.
I know you stated it very well. I'll just leave that like a plop. The other question is the special revenue fund, who controls that?
The library does. It's there because it's money, and it's only been there for a couple of years, I think. It's money that doesn't have to be given back if we don't spend it in a current fiscal year.
But we have to account for it within the budget or as part of the
Yeah.
budget? Okay,
You will, when we start approving the budget through the budget process, at least last year, the whole special revenue account was never even brought up. So it's
Okay.
not something that the townspeople or the Board of Finance vote on.
okay.
And in the forwarded Excel workbook, there are 2 tabs at the very end for special revenue. And it's the same amount that was put in this year, which is 5,000 in one line item and 5,000 in the other.
Okay, thank you.
And that's just our emergency fund. And while it says 3.60 for the increase, that's the increase due to some finagling. That's based on what we ended with. It's really not affecting. The only thing that's going above the only person going above a 2.25 increase is Meg. That the town has not already planned for.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so the question is, are you willing to support this budget at the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance?
Yes, this is what we need. If they can cut it, let them cut it.
Anybody else?
Yes,
I agree.
willing to support it.
I'm sorry, Christina, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I didn't. I was just going to say I would vote to support it if that's, yeah, if you're looking for a motion to vote on it, I'm more than happy to make a motion.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that the budget as proposed by Tracy is sent to the Board of Selectmen. Does that cover everything, Betsy?
it
Yes.
shouldn't, say
Well-
it again, budget as proposed by Tracy?
Yes. The budget we received today.
The budget we received today, okay.
Second.
Okay, any other comments?
I was just going to make a comment. Tracy and I had talked about that that increase in salary that was above the 2.25 that has, it's above the 2.25, and Tracy is completely confident in explaining the need to increase the salary above that. So I felt confident that that wouldn't be a problem.
Well, but she's right. I mean, Debbie's salary increase came in the middle of the year. And so there was enough money in the budget to cover it then. And so it's not really an increase for this current year. It just sort of looks like one. So Meg's is the only real increase, and we do have legitimate reason for doing that. I mean, she's been a great asset to the library and has deserved this all along. Alice?
I'd like to hear from Sue, who knows the inner workings of how this sausagey budget is developed. Does this stand a chance?
Well, I was going to say, we have new boards. I don't know if they're going to be listening to us. I definitely would, send it as is, because as I think Leslie says, chances are it could get cut. So why go in lower and have them cut it even more? But yeah, I really don't know what to expect from this group. I think this time around, we'll have a much better idea for next year, but
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the expectation is right there. She said it in her spotlight. It says it right here in this letter. We want a 0% increase.
Yeah.
That's without even considering any departmental, needs or anything like that. It's just that it's going to be 0%, which I have a huge problem with, and I don't have a problem saying that I have a huge problem with that. So,
Well,
I
yes,
think we need to ask for what we need, and if they feel otherwise, then they can make those determinations.
well, yes, and we should, I was remiss, while we're still discussing the budget, we were allowed to make one per department request for funds that, if on the chance that there was a lot of extra money in the town, we could get extra money. And what one thing would we spend it on? And you should have gotten a copy of this.
Yes.
It's called the next priority form, which includes a request for $10,000 to be put into our book budget again. The one that's labeled technical supplies. Yes, including, that's our book budget. And so this is with an explanation that our need for digital services has been increasing. The pandemic has made it obviously worse, but it just goes up on a regular basis. And I mean, I borrow ebooks from our library, and there are times you get on a 6 to 8 month wait list.
It doesn't even tell you. It just says a long time.
Yes,
You may never get this book.
Yes. So we can in some ways we can do it by reallocating funds in physical audiobooks and DVDs, because these things are less useful. We also have an aging collection in our print collection that needs to be replaced. And so hopefully that, I'm not sure how much the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen understand, when libraries buy a print book, it's ours. We can keep it and do with it what we want. When you don't really buy an ebook, you license it. And licenses are very expensive and tend to run out, and all this other stuff that makes buying digital acquiring digital resources a very different and sometimes vastly more expensive item than anything else. And we now wind up buying not only a print copy of books, but a digital copy of books. So we're not just buying one anymore, we're buying more than one. So that will go, this next priority form will go with the budget, so that if the town gets more money, we'll hopefully get some.
If I can make a comment about what you had sent over, and the letter, I believe that it was signed by Marcia. What is disturbing to me is that she wants to have a 0% increase, and she listed off, well, because we have to do a police station, and we have to do, the library, and they've listed all these 5 or 6 things or whatever that they are looking at down the road. Well, that's fine, but if that's all you're thinking is that you have to be able to pay for that, you're never going to get out of this 0%. You're never going to be able to get to where everything in town should be. And that's what really concerns me. And maybe something like that needs to be brought up to the boards as well. I mean, otherwise we'll never have an increase. We'll never be
Yeah.
able to afford what we want or
Well,
need.
it's not like the 0% increase puts money in a savings account for a police department or a new library. It doesn't work like
Right.
that, right?
Right. Right.
So the logic isn't really adding up.
No, and they have to know, once the school is, the high school is paid off, and then you start looking at the other things, but you still have to run a town.
Right.
So
Yes.
And
Yeah.
a zero budget always means you go backwards. You've
That's
lost
right.
Yes. Yeah.
always.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago that we went through this, and it wasn't good. Schools had no paper. I mean, it wasn't good.
It is. And in some ways, getting this from Marcia doesn't determine. I mean, that's not her function to determine what the budget increase ought to be. I mean, that should, I think she's being put in I think she gets to deliver the bad news, unfortunately.
I would agree with that.
So, all right, so we have a motion on the floor to submit the, yes, Alice?
I'll second it.
Oh, okay. I thought we had somebody. Okay,
I did, yeah, I did. I had seconded.
Okay, Leslie did, okay.
okay. So, any more discussion? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion of submitting the budget as presented to us, including the next need? Sorry, I keep losing the name of this form, the next priority form, okay?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, no opposed? No abstentions? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, is there two separate motions for the actual budget and then the priority? Or is that?
No, let's combine.
Okay.
It's because it's part of the same budget submission.
Okay.
Very
Thank you,
flexible
Cora.
with our emotions.
Yes.
Betsy, on the agenda, I had approval of our last month's meeting minutes. Did we want to do that, or do you want to?
I think can we just postpone that till the end of the month?
Yeah, I'll put it on with
Okay.
the one in 2 weeks then. Okay.
Thank you. I skipped over that. That's my fault. We do have three lesser items that I think we need a little discussion. Three of the members of the board terms of office expire on the 7th of February. Alice, you are one. Leslie, you are one. John
No.
Voorhees, no?
Mine doesn't, no. Christine checked with Jenny. Mine is next 2 years. I have 2 more years. It was wrong
Okay.
on the website. Yeah.
All right, Alice, I think you are, and John Voorhees is.
Okay.
What I suggest is you write what used to be referred to as a bread and butter letter to the Board of Selectmen saying, I enjoy doing this, please reappoint me.
Can you go slowly? I enjoy. Okay.
Thank you, Alice.
Okay, we'll do.
You do better than me at this.
I talked to John Voorhees today, and I don't, he offered that he wasn't going to be applying or continuing.
Yeah,
But people
Yeah.
change. But that's what he
Okay.
said today.
yeah. All right. Also, I don't know how many of you are aware of an issue that's come before the Board of Education that may affect us. Someone took issue with a book in the library at the Huckleberry. Yes, and wanting the book removed because it was age inappropriate for students at Huckleberry.
The parent thought it was age inappropriate.
Yes. And it turns out that When I heard it, I listened to the Board of Ed meeting, and I encourage you all to do that. They're meeting again tonight, maybe discussing it. But I talked to Bob Belden more because we hadn't had a meeting, and I didn't want to say that the library was fully behind whatever the Board of Ed did, but I said I was. It turns out that the Board of Ed has a pretty clear policy relating to books that are part of the curriculum in that school, but they have no policy as we do for collection development for the library. It's the library itself as a library as opposed to a curriculum resource. So I sent him a copy of our collection development policy. I said we would probably be happy to work with someone. He said that Debbie Brooks is actually chairing the committee that's looking at, from the Board of Ed side, looking at what kind of policies they should establish for collection development. I mean, the basic system we have for books is that parents are responsible for what their children can and cannot read. We and the library will not take part in enforcing whatever parents' rules there are, because that's one of the things the Board of Ed had suggested, that they would make sure the child didn't read the book their parents didn't want him to read. Apparently, I think from what Bob said, that was not acceptable to the parent. They wanted the book gone. But this is not the first time this has happened, not the first time it's happened in Brookfield, but it's increasingly a problem. And I think we are in the process of reviewing our collection development policy, not because of anything that's happened, but just because policies need to be reviewed regularly. And so we will continue, and unless there is real reaction on the board to say that the library board is in support of what the Board of Ed is doing with their policies and are willing to help them if they feel they need support from the library board.
Can you tell us what the book is, or no? I didn't
They
listen
did-
to the Board of Ed meeting.
Yes, I can tell you what it is, but they didn't actually mention it at the meeting, so I don't know if it's
Oh.
supposed to be public knowledge.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I know what it is. So I was either at the meeting, I thought maybe on Facebook.
It was mentioned on Facebook by a parent,
Yeah.
but it was never mentioned at the meeting.
At the meeting. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. But I would encourage you to go back to, and I can't tell you which meeting it was, one of the meetings of the Board of Ed, and maybe look at it tonight to see if they report anything more at their meeting.
Betsy, the only thing about supporting the Board of Ed's policy is I don't really know what it is. You know, so maybe
Well,
maybe if we looked at it at the next meeting, I mean, I don't have a problem with supporting the Board of Ed, but we should at least have looked at their policy.
And I didn't make myself clear enough. They do not have a policy that relates to the school library as a library.
Oh, okay.
They have a policy for use of books in the curriculum. So they would be developing a policy for their.
But they don't. We can't endorse it because they don't have one yet.
No, because they don't have one. No, the only thing we would endorse is them looking at policies, and if asked, providing a little resource on how to develop the policy and what it ought to contain.
In this culture, when everybody gets offended at everything, you're going to have more people coming forward. It's just people feel emboldened to do that. You just want to say, it's not all about you. I mean, it just isn't.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the
Can I
things,
ask-
oh, sorry, Sue.
I
You
was
wanna
just
go
gonna
ahead?
ask you a question. I had heard that two people were in favor on the board, in
Yes,
favor? Okay.
yes.
And
To
it's
the
my
board.
belief that there are people that were on the board before,
Two
but now we
people
have
are
a
in
lot of new
favor-
members.
Wait, two people are
So-
in favor of, two Board of Ed members are in favor of removing a book?
Yes.
Well-
What they wanted to do was remove the book while they developed the policy. So the board made a motion to remove the book. Two people voted in favor, the rest voted against it.
Oh, that's a slippery.
And so, yes, and so
Okay.
they were going to review their policy and then make a decision, because their curriculum policy, as Betsy said, is different. Their curriculum policy says a parent can say, no, I don't want my child to read this,
Mhm.
but they don't have a library book policy like that. So, and the gist is, yes, a parent can say, I don't want you to read this book, or I don't want my child to read this book, but they can't say, I don't want the whole 10th grade reading this book, for example. That's
Right,
not
exactly.
their parents' job, position to do that. So that they're actually creating that policy and kept the book in play while they're working on the policy.
Oh, they did. They didn't take it off.
They did
Sure.
not, and because
Okay.
the Huckleberry Library, Huckleberry has its own review committee. So that committee deemed that it was an appropriate book after the parent complained. So this has gone through a series of steps.
Okay. All right. I guess my concern was if there were, new members of the board, I didn't know how they were going to vote. And I was just afraid that more would vote in favor of taking the book off.
Mhm.
So that would be my concern by saying I support the Board of Education when to Alice's point
When you
too.
don't, right? Yeah, okay. All right. So maybe I would withdraw it as a motion and we will just keep monitoring the situation and see if there is input that we
And
can
offer
provide.
help
Yeah,
if needed.
okay.
The Connecticut
Um,
Association of Boards of Education also has all sorts of policies that districts can use. I'm sure Brookfield's a member of that, CABE it's called.
Yes,
I-
that's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they have all sorts of, you just take them and put your name in there.
Well, and I think that policies sometimes get written because there's a problem.
Yes,
And if there have not been problems, there may not have been any felt need to develop a policy.
yeah, I'll send Debbie
So-
Brooks an email about that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right. The third item that Leslie brought up at the Board of Selectmen's meeting Monday night, in response to a public comment by a man whose name I did not catch, except his first name was Andy, and so I would have to go back and listen. He questioned in public comment at the end of the meeting, which is, I think, the only time they have it. A couple of things about the library. First, why were we going out for bid for an architect study on Center School when the library had been through 2 failed referendums to support a new library? And then why was the town spending, he said, somewhere around $400,000 to fix the windows in the current building when we weren't going to be there very long? Sort of a,
It's that odd.
yes, somewhat contradictory statement. So the Board of Selectmen, Tara was there, Harry was there, Steve was on the telephone only, but still participating in the meeting, spent time talking about the $30,000 architect study that we would like to do to see some options for the use of Center School as a possible library, in much in the same way that the Board of Ed did when they had an architect look at all of their properties and get physical descriptions about the condition of all their buildings. And in response to that study, and also the center school reuse ad hoc committee, of which I served on, and Yvonne was also part of the committee, although not an official member, but looked at all sorts of organizations in town to see if they had needs that could be met at center school. Unsurprisingly, it came out that the largest groups were Parks and Recreation and the library. There were several smaller groups, but not enough to do it. So the ad hoc committee final report had several options on what could be done, and said that they couldn't make any financial calculations on any of the options because they didn't have any money to invest in that kind of study. So the library board put forth into the current fiscal year budget a request for $30,000 for an architectural firm to look at the Tecton report done for the Board of Ed on center school, which is about the physical condition of the building. The center school reuse study with its options. The library space needs study, which said, this is what we want for a library. This is how much it referred to space only. And there was, did they also get the blueprints, Christina?
If that was part of the Tecton reports, which it may have been.
Okay, so they had that. They also were offered, and I think most of the architects who first applied to the RFP, a tour of both center school and the current library, if they wanted to. And I think a good number of them did go see center school. And we are, so the question was the study only going to be done on use by the library? And there was discussion, and I encourage you again to go back and listen to the Board of Ed meeting. This all, as I say, it all took place at the very end under public comment, so you may have to fast forward through things and listen.
Board of Selectmen meeting. You said Board of Ed, Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, Board of Selectmen meeting, sorry. Mostly between Harry and Steve, although Tara, because Christina and I went to talk to Tara about how wonderful the library was, period, and how much more wonderful it could be if we had a new library, and including discussion of that study. And we said, no, it did not, we had not included Parks and Recreation. When Parks and Recreation in Mary Knox came to the center school reuse to present, as everybody who wanted to, why they could use part of center school. The part that came down in the discussion was the older part of the school, including the cafeteria, the gym, and I think there's about 6 classrooms behind that portion. And she seemed to think that the configuration was fine. There's issues all over that building on how well it's maintained, but the classrooms and the gym and the cafeteria are things that they use in their current state. I asked and got to talk again about the new library. I reminded them that there was one referendum, which we did lose. And I said it was because people wanted to know what a new school costs. And now they know, and we can go back. I also said that Parks and Rec, with classrooms, are the kind of space that they use for their programs.
Right.
And obviously the gym would give them a different avenue, but they also use gyms around. But the library, classrooms are the last thing a library needs. Rooms with closed doors are not the way the libraries are organized, and we needed to know how you could make use of center school. And even the center school reuse committee, one of the options they said was to tear the building down. So that's one option. But what we are looking for in that study is options with some, and obviously for that amount of money, we're not going to get a complete price quote that will, stand up for several years, but to give some idea about financials. So what's the relative cost of tearing down the whole building, tearing down part of it, and leaving part of it the way it is, and what is it going to cost to do each one of those things, and then move forward on the board with saying, okay, this is the option we choose. Because in fact, we have put in a capital request for $125,000 for an architect to start pre-referendum services, as we did the last time, to put it into the upcoming year's capital budget. So.
Thank you for explaining that. I have several things I want to say. I found the RFP in my email today, and it very clearly states that it's for a new library. It doesn't say anything about Parks and Rec. Yep. I don't know why there was memory issues last night or Monday at the meeting. I thought that was a little strange. And the other thing I thought was weird is, why would the library have something in its budget that's also for Parks and Rec? Wouldn't there be equal sharing of a monetary amount like that? The third thing I would say, and I don't know if this guy is new or what. Yes, it failed at referendum. However, the library is in the town's plan of conservation and development. And it's also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, in the 10-year capital, like the planning. So just because it failed doesn't mean we don't need a new library. Doesn't mean it's not a plan. It's still necessary, and there is still a plan for a new library. So I found that it was very difficult to hear the public comment. So I'm very thankful that you explained it, because I didn't want to go off judging what I heard, but it was rather confusing, and I couldn't understand why there was confusion about what this $30,000 was for that we already had approved. Why is it even questioned? It was approved. Why are we questioning something that was already approved?
Approved.
And the other thing is, we've been working with the municipal building committee all along, and they told us not to worry about Park and Rec, that they would handle that separately. So it's not in our purview at all.
That's interesting, because NBC didn't even come up in the conversation, right, Betsy?
No, they didn't. I will tell you, if you didn't understand, this gentleman, Andy, whose name I should learn, did speak up out of turn and said, it doesn't mean I don't support a new library. I do. I like the library.
Not on a soccer field. Or
yes. No, soccer fields did not come up either, thank goodness.
But honestly, I mean, that's why I think it didn't get passed last time. It was the soccer field.
It really was.
A library.
It's totally why. It was the third rail, Christina calls it.
That was Jay Purcell's term. I stole that from him. When we talked to him about the spacing for the new police station. But I do want to make a point about the study, because we did attach the Center School Ad Hoc Committee report. So we are working with the Municipal Building Committee. We, of course, are worried about the library. However, part of the Center School Ad Hoc Committee's report was a library and gyms and space for park and rec. So I would believe that part of what comes out of working with the municipal building committee is the fact that there is space for park and rec and there's X amount of space.
Well, I received a call from Harry today, and he wanted to know. And he wanted to know exactly what was in the RFQ, and I said, well, I can email it to you. This is what the new library committee and the municipal building committee came up with to send out. And so I emailed it to him because he had a lot of concerns and didn't. And I said, well, it was approved by the board of selectmen and finance last year.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns that I, a regular citizen, not a member of the Board of Selectmen, have a copy of it in my email because it came from the town. He doesn't know about that apparently. And I have concerns that he doesn't remember what was approved. I mean, it was voted on. It was approved. I don't even understand why this is in question at all. Why do we usually go back and question things that were already approved?
Oh, yeah.
Well, when it comes to the RFP was drawn up by the municipal building committee. So that's not something that I think they had any, I don't think that the Board of Selectmen looked at the RFP prior to it being posted.
No, it's not, as far as I know, it wouldn't have been a required step.
No,
that's
exactly.
that's really not my point. Like, I get a copy of it because I get emails from the town about pretty much everything that's going on, and I'm not on the Board of Selectmen. That's my point.
Yeah. And the other thing is, yes, as far as right now, the new library is on the town's 10-year capital plan for bonding in 2028. But there has been set up a capital planning committee to review that capital plan. So we will need to keep in contact with that. I think Ricky Ramos is on it.
No, he didn't. He's not on Board of Finance anymore.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean you can't be on it. Let me.
I think you stayed on as a resident.
Yeah.
My bad.
There was a lot of people appointed to things at this meeting. Capital Planning Ad Hoc Committee. Well, Brianna Ruocco is a Board of Finance member. All right. No, I did see somewhere else. Sorry, it's I think on the town's website. It should be as a new committee. So which is a good sign to have somebody to relook at that capital plan. We'll just have to make sure that a new library does remain on it. And I mean, a 10-year capital plan is the library the town recognizing that we have needs, and how can we finance them? How and when can we finance all of the needs that we have that we're willing to commit to? So in a way, it's good to see the library on it, and it means we'll have to be vigilant about keeping it on there, because I think that there is an interest in a new library. Okay, anything else? All right. We do have another meeting in February. On the 4th.
In January.
January, sorry, we have one in February too.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You normally meet the 4th Wednesday of
Yes.
the month, is it? Okay.
So it's the 26th. Yes. And with luck, things will turn over and we'll be able to meet at the library again and there won't be an ice storm. Okay, anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I just wanted to thank the board for approving the budget. Seeing it's my first time doing it, I just want to thank you all for approving it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for all the work that went into it.
Yeah. Okay,
So
Thank
motion
you.
to adjourn.
Second Leslie's motion.
yes, thank you.
All in favor?
All right,
Leslie,
thank you.
Tracy, you have to get us out of this meeting.
Good night, everyone.
That's right.
All right, bye, guys.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.